If you take a look at the world around you and you think it's a difficult place because people hate each other and they don't treat each other well, I think it's more so because people hate themselves. Whenever you look at something outside of you and it creates some kind of emotional distress, a negative charge within you, understand that only happens when there is something that you've repressed within yourself, something you haven't accepted in yourself. And actually, all of these events and circumstances outside of you that trigger you are orchestrated by you to become aware of this. So all of these are the world's way or the universe's way of inviting you, giving you the opportunity to learn something about yourself that you haven't accepted. That's what all this comes down to. There's that saying that goes, if you point a finger at someone, you have three pointing back, right? So whenever you are triggered by somebody else, it's because you have some kind of judgment towards them. And you only have judgment towards someone outside of you, something, sorry, outside of you, when there's judgment within you. And that's simply a reflection of that. And we all deal with these things. All of us have these judgments because most people would rather repress an emotion and not feel it than deal with it, face it head on and accept it. But the problem is they think that they're actually avoiding or escaping it, but you're not. You're just holding on to it. And this is actually what leads to imbalance in the body and eventually all kinds of diseases. But at the same time, this emotion wants to be seen, felt, heard. Whatever the judgment is, it wants to be accepted, released. And the way it does so is by creating circumstances outside of you, which are opportunities for you to become aware of this judgment that you are blind to, the thing that you've repressed. So it's never really about that person. It's never really about whatever that concept or topic, whatever it is that really triggers you. It's always going to be about looking inside of yourself. So the next time you feel triggered, you should actually ask yourself, what am I meant to learn here? What am I not seeing? What have I not accepted within myself? What have I not loved within myself? Because really that's what's happening. When you hold any kind of judgment about yourself, something you like or you don't like, you've immediately assumed a certain way it should be. And if it's not that, then you've labeled it as bad. But true love is unconditional. It means accepting the thing the way it is, not trying to change it. We all have these things about ourselves that we might not like. We all come into this world with judgments, but that's what makes us all individual and unique. That's why we're not all supposed to be the same as everyone else. And that's why we're not supposed to live the same lives as everyone else, because we all come in with different judgments we hold. And so we're going to be presented with different circumstances and people and opportunities to learn these different lessons on how we can release this judgment, to start to accept things more, to love things more the way they are. Imagine trying to run away from a part of yourself. You can't, right? So maybe at some point you should surrender and learn to accept it the way it is, which eventually turns into unconditional love. Being able to love every part of yourself just the way it is, because that's what makes you unique. And it's funny that the moment you start to do this is finally when you actually, the world around you starts to embrace your imperfections because you did first. They start to celebrate your imperfections for you and appreciate them, especially because they're all dealing with the same things. Imagine being ashamed or judging something that every one of us has. It's funny that we humans do this, right? We somehow convince ourselves, even though we know this, we convince ourselves that our issues are unique to us, but everybody is dealing with the exact same things, which is why the second one person steps up and admits it, we all resonate. And most of the time we support them, even though our fears are that we're going to be singled out for admitting that we have these flaws within us. What if we completely change the model that we live our lives from, in realizing that because each of us come in with our different judgments that we hold, different perceptions, which means we have different lessons to learn, therefore meaning we have different paths to follow, then completely drop the idea that everybody should take a certain path, that should live a certain life. Begin to realize that we're all on our different paths, so we should measure success completely differently. Or maybe we actually measure success in the same way, but it's purely based on how well are you as a person moving closer towards unconditional love, which is authenticity. Imagine success being how well you're embracing your own individuality. And if you really sit with that, imagine I'm telling you that your whole goal here, your whole purpose is I'm just simply asking you, inviting you to just be more of yourself. Show me and the whole world more of who you are. And the more you do this, the more you start to invite more opportunities in the world to embrace your individuality again. And the more you start to actually bring things that are more resonant for you. Because if we're always attracting what we are, it's not really about what you do in life, it's about how you do it, who you are, the state that you're embodying when you do it. And you're always attracting things that are at the frequency that you're embodying. Then if you spend most of your time being someone you're not, which whenever you hold judgment, you're not actually authentic, right? Because the second you have any kind of judgment, if you have positive judgment towards someone, you're infatuated with someone, you're maximizing them, minimizing yourself. If you have negative judgment, resentment towards someone, you put them in a pit, you're minimizing them, maximizing yourself. So now you've pushed yourself higher, you're more prideful. Again, you're not authentic. And that means that you're going to bring more inauthenticity into your life, more suffering. That's what's going to happen. But the second you decide to step out of all of this and just make it your mission to embrace yourself and show acceptance and authenticity through being unconditional love as much as possible. And obviously this is not something you just get to, this is like an ongoing process. But if you make it your goal to try and move towards that, then you're just going to get more of that back in your life. More love, more authenticity, and you're going to have a more effortless, easier life, because even the people that you bring into your life are going to be ones that are more aligned with you. And that's what we all want. Everybody wants to feel like they're living a life that's meaningful to them. Yet they still live by the expectations of others. That doesn't add up, it doesn't work like that. Fortunately, many people, even if they know this intellectually, they still deep down think they need to wait for something to eventually give them permission to pursue this. Or maybe they tell themselves, once I have enough money, I'll do this. Once I get to this age, once I buy the house, once I get the car, whatever it is. But you never get there. The outside world is only a reflection of you internally. So long as you keep saying that I'm going to wait a little longer, then the world continues to wait a little longer for you. So it starts with you. It starts with you making the decision that I'm going to finally at least take one step closer to being unconditional love. I'm going to take one step closer to moving more towards acceptance. And I'm going to see how my life changes. And you start to notice that the second you start to do this, everything that you've been looking, chasing for, starts to find you.